Hello everyone, and welcome to our 11.3 Part 1 notes on area of parallelograms and triangles. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remind you of some of these formulas. You've seen many of these formulas in middle school, and today we're just going to put them all together. So we're looking for the area, and we're going to be looking at 2D shapes. So what is the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is going to be 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. What is the area of a rectangle? Area of a rectangle is just base times height. The area of a square is the side length squared, since your base and your height are the same. So you could still do base times height, but that is going to be the same value for each, so we can shorten that to side squared. And the area of a parallelogram is going to be base times height as well. So our 4-sided shapes we're going to be looking at today are going to be base times height. Our 3-sided shapes are going to be base times height divided by 2. So the directions say solve for the area, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So let's look at our very first shape. What kind of shape is this? The first thing we're going to do is name all of these. This is a triangle. So what is my formula for the area of a triangle? It's going to be base times height divided by 2. And when you look for a base and a height combo, that's what I like to call these, you're always going to look for the group that is perpendicular. The height must be perpendicular to the base. So they're going to cross each other at 90 degrees. So every single time when you try to find a base and a height, you're going to be looking for the pieces that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So the base and the height pair that you are going to be using have to be perpendicular to each other. So there could be more than one. You want to find the set that is going to be perpendicular where you have both. So there's my base, there's my height. They should always be perpendicular to each other. So we're looking for the T. Okay, so in this triangle, I'm going to look for that perpendicular mark. There's my right angle. So that means that the base, this side of the triangle, is one of the bases. There are actually 3 bases in this triangle, but the one that I'm given is 15. The height that corresponds to that is 21.3. So I'm going to fill in, there's my base, there's my height. They are, in fact, perpendicular to each other. So I'm going to do base is 15. I'm going to do that times 21.3. And then I'm going to change that to a star so you can't tell it's not a decimal point. Base times height divided by 2. Okay. If you put 2 of these together, you could form a rectangle. So it's just going to be divided by 2 for our area. 15 times 21.3. And then you divide that by 2. That is going to give me to the nearest tenth. This is going to round to about 159.8. And my units for area, of course, is going to be units squared. So this is in meters. And so my units are going to be meters squared. Okay. I have another triangle. I have a 3-sided figure, and it looks like it has these extra pieces there. There's my right angle. So here's my height, how tall this triangle is. And then what is the actual base? Well, it's not 4 because this piece right here is dotted. That just shows that this is extending out beyond the triangle. The height is happening on the exterior of the base. And so my actual base is 2. It's the part that's actually colored in. So you can tell because this shape is shaded in, all in blue. And so it's not a right triangle, it's that blue piece that is a slanted triangle, and so its height is going to be happening at an exterior point when you drop it to the ground, that altitude. So here's my height, here's my base is 2. So the formula for the area of a triangle is going to be base times height divided by 2. And so we're going to do area equals my base is 2, my height is 3, and we're going to divide that by 2. When you do that, you're going to get 3 feet squared of area. Okay. Now our next triangle is a right triangle. It is the outside border of it is solid, so that means it's the entire thing. The entire thing is shaded. And so here's my height, but I am missing my base that corresponds to that. And so I need to find my base. Well, how do I do that? How do I find the base B? Well, since this is a right triangle, I can use Pythagorean theorem. So I can use the A squared plus B squared should be equal to C squared. And so I can plug in these pieces where the 13 is our hypotenuse. So that's going to be A squared is going to be 5 squared plus B squared is equal to 13 squared. And so you're going to get that B squared is equal to 13 squared minus 5 squared. So you're just going to type that into your calculator. 13 squared. Allow. Are we still recording? Still recording, microphone's still on, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna do 13 squared minus 5 squared. That is going to give me 144 for what B squared is. So then what is B? It's gonna be the square root of 144. So that is going to be exactly equal to 12. So So now that I know that my base is 12, I can plug this into the formula. That's going to be area equals base times height divided by 2. That's going to be 12 times 5 divided by 2, which gives me an area of 30 meters squared. Okay, so that one we had to find our base before we found our area. Now we're going to do a few rectangles. Solve for the area, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So the first thing I want you to do is label these. These are four-sided figures. And so the area of a rectangle or a parallelogram is going to be base times height, not just divided by 2, but just base times height. And so again, we look for our right angle combo. Here's our base. Here's our height that corresponds to that. So there's my B, there's my H. So my area is going to be equal to 16.4 times 11.8. So when you do 16.4 times 11.8, no need to divide by 2 because this is a rectangle. So it's going to be about 193.5. What are my units? My units are going to be feet squared. So we're rounding these to the nearest tenth when it requires us to. Okay, what is the next shape? Well, it has all four sides marked as congruent. So not only is it specifically, or is it broadly a rectangle, more specifically because it has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides, this is going to be a square. So when you label this 17.6, even though it looks like you don't know your height, you do because that's also going to be 17.6. So for a square, area is going to be equal to the side length squared. You can still do base times height. Area is going to be equal to 17.6 squared, or 17.6 times 17.6. And that is going to give you about 309.8 millimeters squared for our area of this shape. Okay. This next problem is the first parallelogram that pops up that is not a rectangle or a square. So you can see it is a four-sided figure. We do have a right angle right here. And so what is my base height combo? They give you, there's 2 different bases. There's 5 and there's 4.5. But the one that corresponds to a height that's given is going to be the 5 with the 4. So our area is going to be equal to base times height. Our base is 5, our height is 4. And so our area is going to be 5 inches times 4 inches, which of course is going to give us 20 inches squared of area. That's how much space is inside of this shape. Okay. All right, now we have another problem where we are looking for our area. And again, I have more than one base. I have 2 different bases. I have 13 and then I have 9.4. So which one corresponds to the height? Well, 9.4 corresponds to this height, which is unknown. So we're not going to use that set. Let's try to use a different set. 13 corresponds to this height of 9, so that is the pair that I'm going to use. This is the base height combo where it has both of them that I'm able to use to find the area. So base times height. Even though 9.4 was also a base, I had to use the 13 because it's the only one that corresponds to the height. So that's going to be area equals 13 times 9. What is 13 times 9? That is going to give us an area of 117 inches squared. And of course, if we wanted to find that other height, we could now. I could just do 117 divided by 9.4. This original height right here in green would have to be about 12.4. So you could go back and find that if you wanted to. All right, let's look at this next problem. So this one was a parallelogram, and this next one is a parallelogram as well. Parallelogram. Okay, this next problem is also a parallelogram. We need to find a corresponding base height combo where you know both pieces. And so let's look for our right angles. Here is a right angle. What's the height that corresponds to that? 3.5. What's the base that corresponds to that? 2. And again, I don't use this pink part because that is dotted. That just shows that the height is happening outside of that shape. So when you do area equals base times height, you're going to get 2 times 3.5. This is our base, this is our height. While 4.6 is also a base, it doesn't have a corresponding height listed, so we would have to know that in order to use that one. So you're going to do 2 times 3.5, which of course is going to give us 7. That is 7 centimeters squared. Okay? All right, our last shape. This is a shape that is made up of both a triangle at the top and then a square at the bottom. And so in order to find the total area of the shape, it kind of looks like a house. I'm going to have to do my area of so the area of the whole thing, square with the triangle on top of it, is going to be equal to the area of the square plus the area of the triangle. This is a figure that has been composed. This is a composition figure. So it's 2 figures put together. Okay? So I'm going to find the area of my square on the bottom, and I'm going to add it to my area of my triangle on the top. So we're just going to add those together, and that's going to be pink plus blue added together. So let's first just find our area of our triangle. How do we find the area of a triangle? Well, it's going to be base times height divided by 2. So what is my base? Well, the base of that triangle is a part of the square, and so since this is 6, this piece is also going to be 6. So that is going to be my base. It's going to be 6 times the corresponding height. It's in a right angle right here with the 8. So 6 times 8 divided by 2. That is going to give me 48, and 48 divided by 2 should give me 24. So what is my area of my triangle? It's going to be 24. Now we need to find the area of the square. Well, the area of a square is really easy. Remember, the area of a square is just going to be side length squared. Sorry, y'all. So that's going to be 6 times 6, or 6 squared. There's another way you can do that. 6 squared, because this is a side length squared. That's not a 5, that's an S. It's going to be 6 times 6, which is 36. So the area of the square is 36. So when you find the area of that whole thing, it's going to be 36 plus 24, which is going to give me a total of, for this shape, this little house, 60 inches squared total. 60 inches squared. So your assignment is on the back. We are going to be entering those answers into a Google form just to give us some really quick data on the most missed questions and to see how y'all do. Make sure you pay attention to those requirements as you work those problems for what you have to get in order to earn credit, and multiple attempts are allowed. I hope you are having a fabulous day.